Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle and this is another recommendations video for Cloak and Dagger Christmas. I love doing these videos because I love recommending great mysteries for you, and I hope that some of these might end up on your own reading list for Cloak and Dagger Christmas in December. So for today's prompt, I want to recommend books for the Columbo prompt. Now the Columbo prompt is actually just a prompt to watch a mystery show, but how can I not take this opportunity to recommend some books that have been turned into TV shows that I quite enjoy. So let's just dive straight into this. First, I want to talk about the Frost series by R.D. Wingfield. Now, this is a television show. It was turned into a television show called A Touch of Frost that ran for 15 seasons from 1992 till 2010. And this is a fantastic series that I love, primarily because of the cast. David Jason is such a great actor. I really like him, and he is so good in Frost. Now, the show is based on these books by R.D. Wingfield. He wrote 6 between 1984 and 2008. And luckily for you and your Cloak and Dagger Christmas reading list, Frost at Christmas is the first book in the series. So if you've never tried the Frost series, I highly recommend them. They're so good. He's such a great character. He's a police officer in a small city, large town, I'm not sure. And he's got it difficult, you know, with cutbacks and budget issues. And what I love about the books too is that he's never only working on one case, which is never realistic. I think for a detective in the police force, he always has multiple cases going on. But I really love this series, and I love that the first one is set at Christmas time, so this is the perfect time for you to try this series out. Next up, we have the Inspector Morse series by Colin Dexter. Another series that I love, and a show that I love as well. The show, Inspector Morse, starring John Thaw, ran for 8 seasons between 1987 and the year 2000. Again, this is such a great show. It's set in Oxford, which is great. I love that. And Morse is such a great character, and John Thaw, it was just so good as Morse, and so it was a great series, and it had such great guest stars on the episodes. So this one that I'm holding up is one called Absolute Conviction, and this one has Sean Bean and Jim Broadbent appearing in this episode. So I mean, how is that not awesome? The other great thing, if this is a series that you enjoy, is that it continued in a series called Lewis, where his sergeant becomes the inspector, and he gets a new sergeant, and it's a new series, more cases, and I quite liked Lewis as well. And here's a fun little tidbit for you. When we were in England, we spent a few days in Oxford, and we actually saw some filming of Lewis, which was awesome. I'm going to include the pictures in here because it was just so entertaining to watch this show that I quite enjoy. Now, the 2 actors, Kevin Whatley, I'm not sure how to say his last name, and Fox is his last name. What's his first name? Lawrence. I think it's Lawrence Fox. Anyway, that was really fun to be able to watch some filming for that show. And then they also did a prequel called ENDEAVOUR, that is like the young Morse, so we get like 1960s Oxford, so that's great too. Now, the series is 14 books between 1975 and 1999. This one is called Last Bus to Woodstock, which is the first one in the series. Again, this is another series that I highly recommend. They're really good. If you're looking for some short stories, we have Morse's Greatest Mystery and Other Stories that was published in 1993. These are short stories, and Morse's Greatest Mystery is set at Christmas. So if you want to give Morse a try in a short story version, why don't you try Morse's Greatest Mystery? Okay, then we have the Wycliffe series by W.J. Burley. Now this book is great because it shows you the TV tie-in. The TV show Wycliffe ran for 5 seasons between 1993 and 1998. One thing that I love about this series, the book and the show, is that it's set in Cornwall. So that's a great setting, I think, for a mystery series. There are 22 books in this series between 1968 and 2000. So this could be another one for you to check out. You could try the books, you could try the show, whatever works for you. Next up, we have Brother Cadfael by Ellis Peters. I absolutely love this series of books, and it was made into a TV show starring Derek Jacobi. Now, I've seen a few episodes of it. I haven't watched as much, but it's because there's potentially some violent stuff or stuff that I just don't want to watch. I would just read about it because they're medieval, and so but Derek Jacobi is a fantastic actor again, and I think he was cast really well as Brother Cadfael. In the book series, there are 22 published between 1977 and 1994. If you want to give Brother Cadfael a shot and you don't want to read a whole book, this book, A Rare Benedictine, is a short story collection, and it's actually subtitled The Advent of Brother Cadfael. So we get the beginning of that story. So you don't even need to feel like you're jumping in the middle of a series. You are getting the beginning, and you're getting short stories if that's something you would like to try. I absolutely love these editions. They have just the most beautiful illustrations. And if you are looking for a Christmas short story, then you can't go wrong with The Price of Light is one of the stories in here, and it is set at Christmas. Okay, another one is the DCI Banks series by Peter Robinson. Peter Robinson was born in the UK, but he early moved to Canada, and he is now a Canadian. So I like to highlight Canadian authors if I can, and I really like the DCI Banks series. They're set in Yorkshire. And the show, there are 5 seasons of the show, and that ran between 2010 and 2016. Again, with a great cast. I really like the cast in that show. The book series, there are 27 books between 1987 and 2021. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the #1 ladies detective agency by Alexander McCall Smith. HBO put out 1 season of this show, and I wish that they had done more. There's only 6 episodes, maybe 8, and I wish that they had done more. This is such a great show. So this series is set in Botswana, and our main character is Precious Remotesway. Again, a great cast, and I love watching it, and I love getting to see a little bit of Botswana. So if you can get a hold of this show, I highly recommend it. The series itself is currently 22 books in the series, with 1 short story collection published between 1998 and 2021. I've already talked about this in a previous video, so I'm going to leave it at that. But yeah, if you can find the episodes of the HBO show, it's so good. Okay, and let's talk about Maigret, written by Georges Simenon. There are 2 series for you to choose from to watch, and I really like them both. They're different, but I do really like them both. So there is one that features Michael Gambon as Maigret, and that ran between 1992 and 1993. I think there's about 12 episodes, so it's not a huge commitment, but I really love Michael Gambon as an actor, and he is really good as Maigret. Your other option is a newer version. There's 2 seasons of it between 2016 and 2017, starring Rowan Atkinson, which I thought was fascinating to cast him as Maigret, but again, I really liked him as Maigret. Simenon, it was hugely prolific, and there are 75 books between 1931 and 1973. You can use these as crossovers because you can use these as translated mysteries, and if you're reading earlier ones, Golden Age. This is one called Maigret Meets a Milord. All right, and let's talk about Rebus, the series by Ian Rankin. Now, there are 2 different Rebuses. There's the John Hannah Rebus from 4 episodes from 2000 to 2001. And then there's the Ken Stott Rebus that had 3 seasons between 2006 and 2007. And I gotta say, I kind of like them both. They're good Rebuses for different reasons, so you can check those series out. I really like the books. These are books set in Edinburgh. I always get mixed up if it's Edinburgh or Glasgow, but it's Edinburgh in Scotland, and he's a police detective. And I really like these. They are pretty gritty. Obviously because he's a detective, but they are pretty gritty. There's some underworld gang stuff. But I like Ian Rankin, and I really like Rebus as a character. And so there are 23 books between 1997 and 2020. Okay, let's talk about Inspector Lynley. Now, I've already mentioned this series in one of my previous videos, and I wanted to mention it again because I really like this series, the Inspector Lynley series. There are 6 seasons between 2001 and 2008, and I think they're really well cast. Nathaniel Parker and Sharon Small. So that's a good series for you to check out. And don't forget to read the books. These are a commitment though, because Elizabeth George, as she got a little further on in the series, the books just kept getting longer and longer. So they are a commitment, but they are worth it for sure. Okay, and let's talk about The Lady Vanishes. I'm going to do a plug for our watch-along. The Lady Vanishes by Ethel Lena White. The movie that we are going to watch is from 2013. And so please consider joining us. I will put the information about the watch along down below. So we all watch it together and then chat about it as we watch it on Instagram. It's going to be really fun. So The Lady Vanishes, the book was originally called The Wheel Spins and was written in 1936. There's some good crossover here because it's a Golden Age mystery, and it also has an amateur sleuth. And there's also an Alfred Hitchcock version of this movie that came out in 1938. So you might want to watch that one as well, if you can find a copy. All right, and then we have The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. There's a good crossover here because this is a Victorian mystery. There are a number of shows that you could choose from. There is a TV series from 2016 that's really good. There's a TV movie from 1996, and I would love to be able to get a hold of a copy of that because it's starring Greg Wise and Keely Hawes, and I think that would be really good. But so far, I haven't been able to find anything I can watch. And then there's also a TV series, a TV miniseries from 1972 that I remember that I've watched that was pretty good too. So that's The Moonstone. And then there are plenty of Agatha Christie options. Of course, we have David Suchet's Poirot. which I love. For me, he is the ultimate Poirot, and that's a long-running series. So if you like it, you can get stuck in and be watching Poirot for a very long time. I wanted to highlight this collection called While the Light Lasts by Agatha Christie because it contains the short story called Christmas Adventure. And Christmas Adventure is the original version of the novella that became The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding. So if you want to read both of them, you can find the original version in this collection. Okay, and then we have Joan Hickson's Miss Marple. I really, really like Joan Hickson as Miss Marple. I think she's fantastic. Here's a picture of her on the back. I think she is a fantastic Miss Marple, and I like these as well because they take their time. So each show is like 2 hours long, and so you really get a good amount of the story in there, and they stay true to the books in this series. So I can highly recommend the Joan Hickson Marple series. And of course, how can I not highlight some of the Marple books? If you want to read Marple, this one is They Do It With Mirrors. There are also Marple short stories if you just want to try a short story. Okay, and then there is also the Seven Dials Mystery, which is a TV movie from 1981 that's really fun. And here is the book that coincides with it. This is an early Agatha Christie from the 20s. And Sparkling Cyanide is a TV movie from 2003. Now this one has changed the story a bit, updated it, but kind of at its core, it's the same. But I like the two main actors in this show, which is why I'm recommending that one. And this is the original that it came from. Sparkling Cyanide is its original title. It's also called Remembered Death. And then Why Didn't They Ask Evans? This is a TV movie from 1980. And again, this is a really good adaptation. I like this adaptation. Great cast. And the book that it comes from is this one, also called The Boomerang Clue. And then there are a couple more that I want to highlight here. And Then There Were None is like, if you've never read Agatha Christie and you're wondering where to start, you can't go wrong with starting with And Then There Were None. And there was a great movie that came out in 2015. Well, it's more like a mini series. Again, just a fantastic cast. And they did a really good job in that adaptation of like showing the tension and the suspension and how and the suspense and how each person on that island was just getting more and more afraid and slowly starting to lose it. So that's a really good adaptation. And then finally, Partners in Crime, which is the second Tommy and Tuppence. This one is a short story collection, so if you want to try them in a short story version, you can't go wrong with Partners in Crime. And the TV show from the 80s, I want to say the 80s, and I think that's right, is also fantastic. I really like the cast in that one. And then one more that I want to talk about, and that is The Murdoch Mysteries by Maureen Jennings. This is the first one in the series that she wrote called Accept the Dying. And there are 8 in this series between 1997 and 2017. And there's some good crossover here if you want to try this series because it is set in the Victorian era. So that's a prompt you could use. And it's a prompt from a different country because they're set in Canada. And so, yeah, I can highly recommend this series. I really like Maureen Jennings, and I like Victorian era Toronto. And there's really good characters in these books. For TV shows to watch, there are 3 TV movies from 2004 and 2005. that I can recommend that are, again, really well cast with Peter Outerbridge, Colm Meaney, Keely Hawes, and Flora Montgomery. So those are good if you can find those to watch. Then there's also the Murdoch Mysteries TV show, which is on CBC here, and I'm not sure, it's on streaming services. I think it's on Netflix. But there are 15 seasons of that show so far, and it started in 2008. And again, that one also has a really good cast. So, whew, there you go. Those are some recommendations from me for mystery books that have been turned into TV shows. What are some of your favorite mystery TV shows? I would love to hear about that in the comment section down below. And also, let me know if I have maybe convinced you to add any of these books to your probably already massive TBR if you're anything like me. And I'll see you for another video soon. Bye.